Everyone ignored the woman in the wheelchair. Until a single dad asked her to dance. The ballroom at the Grand Meridian Hotel looked like the kind of place where nobody was supposed to feel lonely. Crystal chandeliers spilled gold light over white tablecloths. Champagne glasses caught the glow like tiny stars. A string quartet played near the marble staircase while Chicago snow tapped softly against the tall windows. Everywhere, people were laughing. Doctors in black tuxedos shook hands with donors. Executives leaned close to whisper about endowments, hospital wings, and which family name would appear on the next plaque. Cameras flashed near the step and repeat banner that read, Whitmore Children's Rehabilitation Foundation Winter Gala. But near the far edge of the ballroom, beside a marble column and a table no one had bothered to fill, a woman sat alone in a wheelchair. Her name was Claire Whitmore. She wore an emerald satin gown with long sleeves and pearl earrings that caught the light whenever she turned her head. Her chestnut hair fell in soft waves around her face. She looked elegant, composed, almost untouchable. And everyone in the room was pretending not to see her. It was not dramatic at first. That was what made it worse. People did not point. They did not laugh. They simply looked at her, looked away, and made a careful little turn in another direction. One woman approached, saw the wheelchair, froze, smiled too brightly, then suddenly remembered someone across the room. A man carrying a champagne flute nearly backed into Claire's chair. When he noticed, his face went pale. "Oh my gosh," he said loudly. "I am so sorry. Are you okay? Do you need help? Should I call someone?" Every nearby head turned. Claire kept her hands still on the armrests of her sleek black wheelchair. "I'm fine," she said. But the man kept bending toward her as if volume and pity were the same thing as kindness. "I just didn't see you there." Claire's mouth tightened. That, she thought, was the most honest thing anyone had said all night. He hurried off, embarrassed. The people around them resumed their conversations, but now their glances lingered with soft, uncomfortable sympathy. Claire looked toward the dance floor. Couples moved beneath the chandeliers, polished shoes sliding over the marble, gowns turning in slow circles. The music was gentle, old-fashioned, almost cruel in its beauty. Once, before the accident, Claire had loved rooms like this. Now, every room like this seemed to ask the same silent question. "What are you still doing here?" She looked down at her lap, drew a quiet breath, and reminded herself why she had come. Not for the music. Not for the donors. Not to be admired, pitied, or ignored. She had come because something was wrong inside her company. And tonight, she needed to see it with her own eyes. Across the room, a man in a navy suit stepped through the ballroom doors. He did not look like the others. His suit fit well enough, but it was not new. His tie was slightly loosened, like he had put it on for duty rather than vanity. His hair was light brown, touched with grey at the temples. His beard was trimmed, but there was tiredness in his eyes that no expensive lighting could hide. Owen Mercer paused just inside the entrance, holding a folded gala program in one hand. He had not wanted to come. If Dr. Maya Bennett from the pediatric rehab wing had not practically insisted, he would have spent the evening at home with his daughter, Lily, eating frozen pizza and watching one of her nature documentaries. But the hospital staff had invited him after he repaired a broken patient lift without billing extra hours. "You should come," Maya had told him. "People like you are why this place actually works." Owen had laughed it off. He was a maintenance contractor, not a donor. He fixed doors, lifts, outlets, ramps, and anything else that failed at the worst possible time. He knew how to walk into hospital basements, not ballrooms. Still, he had come. For Lily. For the rehab wing. For the staff who treated his daughter like a person, not a file number. He took one step into the room, then stopped. He saw her immediately. The woman in the emerald gown. Not because of the wheelchair. Because of the way the whole room curved around her absence. He watched a trio of executives pass her table. One of them looked directly at her, recognized something, and immediately guided the group away. Owen's brow furrowed. He had seen that look before. People gave it to Lily sometimes. At stores. At school events. In elevators. That quick, awkward glance that said they were not cruel enough to stare, but not brave enough to speak. Owen looked around the ballroom again. Hundreds of people celebrating a rehabilitation hospital. And none of them could walk 10 feet to say hello. He adjusted his tie, exhaled, and crossed the room. Claire noticed him before he reached her. She had spent 2 years learning how to read approaching strangers in less than 3 seconds. Some came with pity. Some came with curiosity. Some came with a need to prove they were good people. This man came with none of that. He stopped at a respectful distance. "Hi," he said. "I'm Owen." Claire looked at his outstretched hand, then at his face. "Claire." They shook hands. His palm was warm, slightly rough. Working hands. Owen glanced toward the empty chair beside her table. "Would you like some company?" Claire studied him carefully. "That depends," she said. "Are you here because you lost a bet?" His mouth lifted at one corner. "No. But I am here wearing a tie, so I may have lost something." Against her will, Claire almost smiled. The quartet shifted into a slow song. On the dance floor, couples moved closer together. Owen noticed her glance. Then he looked back at her, not at the chair, not at the people watching, but at her. "I'm not great at rooms like this," he said. "But if you'd like to dance, in whatever way feels comfortable, I'd be honored." The air seemed to change. Claire heard a woman nearby stop mid-sentence. She felt eyes turning. For one sharp second, old anger rose in her chest. The kind that came from being turned into a moment, a lesson, a symbol. But Owen's expression held no performance. No pity. No expectation. Just a quiet invitation. Claire tilted her head. "Do you always rescue women from boring parties?" "No," Owen said. "Usually I fix broken elevators." This time, Claire did smile. "Well," she said, "then you might be useful tonight." She placed her hand in his. Owen did not grab her chair. He did not assume. He simply walked beside her as she guided herself toward the edge of the dance floor. And for the first time that night, the woman everyone had ignored moved into the light. They danced slowly, not like the couples in the center of the floor, but in a rhythm that belonged only to them. Claire moved her chair with practiced grace. Owen walked beside her, matching her pace, his hand lightly holding hers when she offered it and releasing it when she shifted direction. People watched. Claire could feel them. She had spent years at the head of boardrooms full of men who thought silence made them powerful. She could handle staring. But pity was different. Pity crawled under the skin. Owen seemed to sense it. "Should I make an announcement?" he asked quietly. Claire looked up. "What kind of announcement?" "That everyone can return to pretending they weren't watching." A small laugh escaped her. "That might make it worse." "Fair. You're not from this world, are you?" Owen glanced at the chandeliers, the champagne towers, the donors smiling for photographs. "Not unless they've recently added a basement maintenance wing." "What brings a maintenance man to a gala?" "My daughter," he said. The answer came so softly that Claire looked at him again. "She's a patient here?" "Outpatient therapy," Owen said. "Pediatric rehab. Lily is 8. Claire saw it then. The exhaustion beneath his steadiness. The careful strength of a parent who had learned to measure bad news in copays, appointments, and sleepless nights. "She okay?" Claire asked. Owen nodded, but not quickly enough. "She's stubborn. Funny. Smarter than me, which she reminds me of often." His smile softened. "She had a spinal cord injury from a car accident 2 years ago. She's doing well, but everything is a fight. Equipment, coverage, school accommodations. You learn fast that love doesn't fill out forms for you." Claire's hand tightened slightly around his. 2 years ago. The same year her own accident split her life into before and after. "I'm sorry," she said. Owen gave her a look. "For what?" "For asking too much." "You didn't." He paused. "Most people ask too little. Then they make up the rest." Claire's throat tightened. Before she could answer, a donor in a silver bow tie stepped into their path. He was flushed from champagne and smiling the smile of a man who believed money made him charming. "Well," he said, looking at Claire as if she were an exhibit. "Isn't this wonderful? So brave of you to be out here tonight." Claire's expression changed so quickly that Owen almost missed it. Her face did not crumble. It closed. "Excuse me," she said. The donor chuckled, unaware of the ice beneath her voice. "I just mean, after everything, it must take tremendous courage to attend something like this." Owen looked at Claire, then at the man. "Bravery isn't sitting in a ballroom," Owen said evenly. The donor blinked. Owen continued, calm but firm. "Sometimes bravery is surviving people who think kindness means talking down to you." The donor's face reddened. Claire stared at Owen. No one had spoken for her. Not exactly. He had spoken to the room, but he had not stolen her voice. He had simply named what everyone else refused to see. The donor muttered something and stepped away. For a few seconds, the music filled the silence. Then Claire said, "I didn't come here to be inspirational." Owen looked embarrassed now, as if worried he had gone too far. "I didn't come here to be impressive," he said. "So I guess we're both failing successfully." Claire laughed. A real laugh. It surprised her so much she looked away. Across the ballroom, two people were watching. Grant Holloway stood near the champagne table, tall and polished in a black tuxedo. His silver-streaked hair was combed back, his smile smooth enough to hide knives. Beside him stood Margaret Whitmore, Claire's aunt, in an ivory pantsuit and silk scarf. Grant's eyes narrowed. "She shouldn't be here," he said. Margaret did not look at him. "She has every right to be here." "That's not what I meant." "I know exactly what you meant." Grant watched Claire and Owen move along the edge of the dance floor. "If she starts asking questions before tomorrow's vote, we have a problem." Margaret's jaw tightened. "Then do not create one in public." Grant lifted his champagne glass. "Public is precisely what concerns me." At the edge of the dance floor, Owen noticed none of it. Claire noticed everything. She saw Grant. She saw Margaret. She saw the quick exchange of tension between them. Tomorrow's vote, she thought. So it was real. Owen followed her gaze. "Friends of yours?" Claire's mouth curved without warmth. "Something like that." "Want to escape?" Claire looked back at him. "That depends. Are you going to fix an elevator?" "If necessary." She glanced toward the hallway. "Then yes," she said. "I'd like some air." The hallway outside the ballroom was quieter, lined with cream walls, winter floral arrangements, and framed photographs of hospital donors. Claire moved toward the accessible elevator near the terrace entrance. Before she reached it, a young hotel staff member hurried over with panic in her eyes. "I'm so sorry," the staffer said. "That elevator is temporarily unavailable." Claire looked past her. It was not unavailable. It was blocked. 3 catering carts, stacked with empty trays and linens, sat directly in front of the elevator doors. Claire's face became still. "How long has it been blocked?" The staffer swallowed. "I'm not sure. They were just moving things for the dessert service." Owen looked at the carts, then at the wide, empty decorative staircase beside them. A gala for a rehabilitation hospital. And the only accessible route had become a storage corner. Claire let out a small breath. "Beautiful buildings," she said quietly, "make ugly choices all the time." Owen did not rush to her chair. He did not say, "Let me help you." He simply turned to the staffer and asked, "Are these supposed to be here?" "No, sir, but then I'm going to move them." He rolled the carts to the side, one by one. Then he checked the elevator call button and made sure the path was clear. When he came back, he kept a respectful distance. "There," he said. "The building has been given a chance to improve its character." Claire looked at him for a long moment. "You didn't touch my chair." Owen seemed surprised. "I figured if you wanted me to, you'd ask." Such a simple sentence. It should not have moved her. But it did. The elevator doors opened, and they rode up to an accessible terrace where warm lamps glowed under a covered awning. Beyond the railing, Chicago shimmered beneath falling snow. For a while, neither spoke. The city did that sometimes. Made silence feel intentional. Owen leaned against the railing. Claire parked beside him. "You said your daughter's accident was 2 years ago," Claire said. He nodded. And you? He asked carefully. 2 years ago, she said. Car accident. Rain. A driver looking at his phone. I woke up in a hospital room with my aunt holding my hand and half my company already deciding what I could no longer do. Owen's face softened. That must have been hard. Claire looked at him sharply, ready for pity. But his voice held no syrup. Just truth. It was, she said. Then, after a beat, she added, I used to dance. Owen waited. Claire looked through the snow. No. That's not right. She turned back to him. I still dance. Just differently. Owen smiled. That sounds like something Lily would say. Then Lily is smarter than most adults. She absolutely knows that. Claire laughed again. Then Grant appeared at the terrace entrance. Claire, he said. Owen's head turned. Claire. Not Not Miss Grant caught himself too late. Ms. Whitmore, he corrected smoothly. I didn't realize you'd stepped outside. Owen looked from Grant to Claire. Claire's hand tightened on the armrest. Clearly, she said, many people didn't realize I came inside. Grant smiled, but his eyes stayed cold. I only wanted to make sure you were comfortable. A public appearance like this can invite unnecessary speculation. About what? Your recovery. Your readiness. Your privacy. My privacy, Claire said, has rarely been protected by men discussing it in public. Owen looked down, hiding a smile. Grant noticed. And you are? Owen Mercer. Grant waited for more. Owen gave him nothing. Grant's smile thinned. Well, Mr. Mercer, I'm sure Ms. Whitmore appreciates your attention, but her family can take it from here. Claire's voice turned quiet. My family is not taking me anywhere. The terrace fell still. Grant's eyes flicked toward the ballroom, calculating. Then Owen's phone rang. He pulled it out, saw the name, and immediately stepped back. Sorry, he said. It's Lily's babysitter. Claire watched his face as he answered. At first, he smiled. Then his shoulders tightened. What letter? A pause. No, honey, don't worry about it tonight. Put Mrs. Alvarez back on, okay? Claire turned slightly away, giving him privacy, but she could hear enough. Insurance. Denial. Upgraded wheelchair seating. Medical necessity not established. Owen rubbed a hand over his face. Yeah. I'll handle it in the morning. When he hung up, the man who had asked her to dance looked older. Bad news? Claire asked. He tried to smile. Just another letter written by someone who never has to live inside the decision. What company? He hesitated, embarrassed. You don't need to hear all that. What company, Owen? Whitmore Allied Benefits, he said. They administer part of the plan connected to my contract work. The snow seemed to stop moving. Claire went perfectly still. Grant's eyes sharpened. Owen noticed Claire's expression. What? Claire forced air into her lungs. Nothing, she said. I'm sorry. I'm just familiar with the name. Grant stepped in smoothly. These matters are complicated. Claims are reviewed according to policy. Claire turned on him. Are children's mobility claims part of tomorrow's vote? Grant did not answer quickly enough. Owen looked between them. What vote? Grant smiled. I'm afraid this is internal business. Claire stared at him. So is harm. For the first time that evening, Grant looked genuinely afraid. The next morning, the hospital looked nothing like the gala. No chandeliers. No champagne. No velvet ropes. Just bright hallways, squeaking sneakers, rolling carts, tired parents, and children learning how to do hard things 1 inch at a time. Owen pushed open the door to the pediatric rehabilitation wing with Lily beside him in her child-sized wheelchair. Lily Mercer had sandy blonde hair in a loose side braid, freckles across her nose, and a lavender sweater she insisted was lucky because it had survived 3 spaghetti accidents. She balanced a sketchbook on her lap. Dad, she said, if a robot had legs and wheels, would it be better at soccer or worse? Depends if the robot listens to its coach. So worse. Probably. She grinned. Owen smiled back, but the smile did not reach his eyes. Lily noticed. She always noticed. Is this about the letter? Nope. Dad. It's grown-up paperwork. That means yes. Before Owen could answer, Dr. Maya Bennett walked down the hallway with a tablet in one hand. Lily Mercer, she said. Please tell me you brought the latest masterpiece. Lily held up her sketchbook. It's a dragon who uses a wheelchair because stairs are a medieval design flaw. Maya placed a hand over her heart. Finally, art with policy relevance. Owen laughed despite himself. For the next hour, Lily worked through therapy with the fierce concentration of a child determined not to cry in front of adults. But when Maya adjusted her position, Lily winced. Owen saw it. Maya saw it. Lily pretended they had not. Her current chair did not support her the way it should. The upgraded seating system had been recommended for months. The denial letter had turned that recommendation into another fight. Owen stood near the therapy mat, helplessness burning under his ribs. He could fix broken lifts, loose railings, faulty outlets. He could not fix a system that rejected his daughter with a paragraph. A soft sound came from the hallway. Owen turned. Claire was there. Not in emerald satin now, but in a tailored charcoal coat over a dark dress. Her hair was pulled back, her face quieter in daylight. Lily looked at her with immediate interest. You're the fancy lady, she said. Owen closed his eyes. Lily. Claire's mouth twitched. I've been called worse. Lily rolled closer. Your earrings last night were amazing. Dad told Mrs. Alvarez you looked like a movie star but sad. Owen's face went red. I did not say movie star. You said old movie. That is not better. Claire looked at Owen, amused. Then Lily asked, is your chair fast? Claire leaned forward as if sharing a state secret. That depends on hallway traffic and how many doctors are blocking the lane. Maya raised an eyebrow. I heard that. Good, Claire said. Lily giggled. Owen watched the two of them, and something warm and dangerous moved in his chest. Hope, maybe. Or the beginning of another mistake. Maya caught Claire's eye and nodded toward her office. A few minutes later, behind a half-closed door, Maya's warmth faded into seriousness. You need to know what's happening, Maya said. Claire folded her hands in her lap. I'm starting to. No. You're starting to hear names. I'm telling you what it looks like on the floor. Maya showed her a list. No patient details beyond what was legally appropriate, but enough patterns to make Claire's stomach tighten. Delays. Denials. Appeals. Families of hourly workers. Children with mobility needs. I didn't approve this, Claire said. Maya looked at her with compassion, but no softness. Claire, absence doesn't erase impact. Claire flinched. Maya continued. I know recovery took things from you. I know people underestimated you. But you have to decide whether you're a patient hiding from power or a leader returning to it. Claire looked through the office window. Owen was helping Lily put colored pencils back into her bag. He said something. Lily rolled her eyes, smiling. Claire thought of the ballroom, of the blocked elevator, of Grant's careful voice. Then she looked back at Maya. Show me everything you can. Later, Owen found Claire in the hospital cafeteria. She was alone at a corner table, a paper coffee cup between her hands. He almost turned around. He had too much pride to ask for help and too much fear to trust coincidence. But Lily had already seen her. Dad, Lily whispered, don't be weird. I'm not weird. You're standing behind a plant. Owen looked down. He was, in fact, standing behind a plant. Claire saw them and lifted one eyebrow. Caught, Owen walked over. Hi, he said. Hi. Lily looked between them with the delighted suspicion of a child who had discovered adults being awkward. I have therapy homework, she announced. Dr. Maya said I can do it in the art room. Owen frowned. I should. I'm 8, not a decorative pillow. Claire coughed into her coffee. Owen sighed. Fine. 10 minutes. Lily rolled away with triumphant dignity. Owen sat across from Claire. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Claire said, she's wonderful. She gets that from her mother. Claire's expression softened. Samantha. Owen looked at her, surprised. I think you mentioned her last night. I remember names, Claire said. Especially when people say them like they still hurt. Owen looked down at his coffee. Samantha died 3 years ago. Not in the same accident as Lily. Cancer. Fast enough to feel impossible, slow enough to watch every piece of it. Claire's face changed. I'm sorry. This time, Owen accepted it. Thank you. He pulled his wallet out to pay for his coffee refill, and a photograph slipped free. It landed on the floor between them. Claire picked it up carefully. In the photo, Samantha stood in a sunny kitchen holding Lily when she was smaller. Owen stood beside them, grinning like a man who had no idea the world could break that badly. Claire handed it back. She had kind eyes. She did. Owen stared at the photo for a moment longer before sliding it away. I haven't dated since she died, he said, then looked embarrassed by his own honesty. Sorry. That came out of nowhere. No, Claire said. It came from somewhere. He smiled faintly. I used to think love was something you could only spend once. Like if I felt anything for someone else, it meant I was taking something from her. Claire looked at him for a long moment. Love isn't a room with one chair. Owen's eyes lifted. The words landed somewhere deep. Before he could answer, Lily called from the hallway. Dad. My dragon has a ramp now. Owen stood, but his gaze stayed on Claire. Thank you for coffee. You paid for your own coffee. I know. But still. Claire watched him go. For one brief, foolish moment, she let herself imagine a different life. Then her phone buzzed. A message from her assistant. Grant has scheduled a special board session. Tomorrow morning. Benefit restructuring on agenda. He is moving fast. Claire's fingers tightened around the phone. The different life vanished. Whitmore Allied headquarters rose over downtown Chicago in blue glass and steel. Owen arrived there the next afternoon wearing his work jacket over the same dress shirt from the gala. He had spent the morning calling numbers, waiting on hold, being transferred, and hearing the same answer in different voices. The denial stood. Unless he appealed. Unless more documentation was submitted. Unless the plan administrator reconsidered. Unless. So he came in person. The lobby smelled like polished stone and expensive air. He approached the security desk with a folder of Lily's medical paperwork under one arm. I'm here about a benefits denial, he said. I was told member services is on 12. The guard asked for his ID. As Owen reached for it, his eyes lifted. And he saw her. A massive portrait hung on the wall behind the reception area. Claire Whitmore. Same face. Same eyes. Same controlled expression. Beneath it, engraved in brushed silver, were the words, Claire Whitmore, Chief Executive Officer. Owen stopped breathing. For a moment, he simply stared. The dance. The balcony. The questions. The way she froze at the company name. All of it rearranged itself into something that felt like betrayal. The elevator doors opened. Claire emerged with her assistant beside her. She saw Owen. Then she saw what he was looking at. Owen, she said softly. He turned toward her. You're the CEO. Claire's face went pale. Yes. He laughed once, without humor. You sat across from me while I told you my daughter was being denied care by your company. I didn't know when we met. But you knew after. Claire moved closer, stopping several feet away. I was trying to find out what happened before I said anything. My daughter isn't a case study. I know that. Do you? His voice cracked, and the pain in it was worse than anger. Because from where I'm standing, the dance, the coffee, the concern, it all feels like research. Claire absorbed the words like a blow. That's not what it was. What was it, then? She opened her mouth, but no answer could fit all the damage. Owen shook his head. I trusted you. I'm sorry. He looked away. I don't need you to be sorry. I need my daughter to sleep without pain. He turned and walked toward the exit. Claire did not chase him. Not because she did not want to. Because for once, she understood that wanting to explain herself was not the same as repairing the harm. Behind her, her assistant stood silently. Claire looked back at the portrait on the wall. For 2 years, that woman had been frozen there, powerful and untouched, while real families fought decisions made in her name. Claire's voice became quiet. Get me every memo Grant's team has issued on disability claims in the last 6 months. Her assistant nodded. And cancel my afternoon. Claire looked toward the doors Owen had just walked through. I'm done being absent. The memos arrived in batches. At first, the language looked harmless. Cost stabilization. Utilization review. Temporary benefit alignment. Risk exposure. Claire had spent enough years in boardrooms to know that cruelty often arrived wearing clean fonts. She read until her eyes burned. Grant's team had not written, deny children wheelchairs. They had written, review high-cost mobility-related dependent claims for medical necessity thresholds. They had not written, make families give up. They had written, reduce approval leakage through stricter documentation cycles. Claire pushed back from the desk, sickened. Margaret entered without knocking. You should have called me before requesting those files. Claire looked up. Why? Because Grant will use this to argue you are acting emotionally. I am emotional, Claire said. I'm also correct. Margaret's face tightened. Claire rolled away from the desk. How much authority did you give him? Margaret looked toward the windows. When you were recovering, the board was circling. You were in pain. You could barely sit through a half-hour call without exhaustion. I had to keep the company stable. So you let Grant make decisions in my name. I limited the damage. You enabled it. Margaret flinched. For the first time, Claire saw the fear beneath her aunt's polish. I raised you after your parents died, Margaret said. I watched this company eat your father alive. Then I watched you almost die in a hospital bed. I was not going to let them use your weakness against you. Claire's voice softened, but only slightly. My wheelchair is not weakness. I know. No, Aunt Margaret. You don't. Because if you knew, you would not have protected my image while my people were being hurt. Margaret's eyes glistened, but she did not cry. Whitmore women rarely did in rooms with glass walls. Claire turned back to the files. I'm calling an emergency board meeting. Grant will fight you. Good. Meanwhile, across the city, Owen sat in his apartment staring at unpaid bills. The place was small but warm. Lily's drawings covered the refrigerator. A pink blanket lay over the couch. A stack of medical forms sat beside a pot of macaroni and cheese on the stove. Lily sat at the table drawing Claire in her emerald gown. Owen noticed and looked away. You're mad at her, Lily said. I'm not mad. Dad. He rubbed his forehead. Okay. I'm mad. Because she's the boss lady? Because she should have told me. Lily considered this with the seriousness of a judge. Maybe she was scared. Adults don't get to hide behind scared when kids get hurt. Lily put down her pencil. Is Claire bad? Owen hesitated. He wanted to say yes. It would be easier. But Lily had inherited her mother's gift for asking questions that demanded honesty. I don't know, he said. Lily looked at the drawing. People can mess up and still fix things. Owen's throat tightened. Who told you that? Mom. The apartment went quiet. Later that night, after Lily fell asleep, Owen sat on the edge of his bed with his phone in his hand. He opened an old voicemail. Samantha's voice filled the room, soft and tired but smiling. Hey, handsome. If you're saving this for a hard day, then I'm sorry it's a hard day. But listen to me. Don't turn love into a museum, Owen. It was meant to keep living. Give Lily a kiss for me. And give yourself one good thing without feeling guilty about it. Owen pressed the phone to his forehead. For the first time in months, he let himself cry. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just enough to admit that anger was not the only thing he felt when he thought of Claire. He felt hurt. He felt afraid. And beneath all that, dangerously, he still felt hope. Claire returned to the hospital without calling Owen. She did not come for forgiveness. She came to look at the damage. In the rehab wing, she watched parents filling out forms while children practiced transfers, balance, and movement. She watched a mother argue quietly with an insurance representative in the hallway while her son pretended not to listen. She watched a father rub his eyes beside a vending machine, surrounded by paperwork. Maya stood beside her. "This is what policy looks like when it lands," Maya said. Claire nodded. "I'm sorry." Maya did not answer right away. "For what part?" Claire looked at her. "For letting distance become ignorance." Maya accepted that. Then they worked. Together, they reviewed anonymized patterns Maya could legally discuss and compared them against the memos Claire had obtained. It was worse than Claire feared. Children with mobility-related needs had been hit hardest. Not by one denial. By repeated delays, stricter documentation cycles, and appeal requirements that exhausted families who had the least time and money to fight. Grant had targeted the claims least likely to generate public outrage. Not because they were unnecessary. Because the families were tired. That evening, Grant met Owen in the hospital parking lot. Snow had turned to grey slush beneath the streetlights. Owen was loading Lily's therapy bag into the truck when a black town car pulled up beside him. Grant stepped out in a wool overcoat. "Mr. Mercer." Owen closed the truck door. "No," Grant smiled. "I only need a minute. You have 10 seconds. I understand you've become close with Ms. Whitmore." Owen's eyes hardened. "That's none of your business. Unfortunately, everything involving Claire is board business at the moment. She is vulnerable, and vulnerable people can be influenced by emotional stories." Owen stepped closer. "My daughter is not an emotional story." Grant's smile stayed in place. "Of course not. But maintenance contracts are reviewed quarterly. I would hate for your involvement in internal corporate matters to create complications for your family." There it was. Not a threat loud enough for witnesses. Just a polished sentence designed to take food off a table. Owen's hands curled. "You think because I need the work, I'll stay quiet? I think responsible fathers make practical choices." Owen leaned in. "Responsible fathers teach their kids not to be scared of men like you." Grant's smile finally flickered. Owen walked away. But inside the truck, after he started the engine, his hands shook. Lily noticed. "Dad." He forced a smile. "Seat belt, kiddo." Across town, Claire sat in a hospital conference room with Maya, staring at highlighted denial codes. When Lily's drawing arrived through Maya the next morning, Claire unfolded it carefully. It showed Claire and Owen dancing under hospital lights. Lily had drawn herself nearby, cheering. Above them, in purple pencil, were the words, "People can mess up and still fix things." Claire pressed a hand to her mouth. Maya watched quietly. "She asked me to give it to you," Maya said. "Not to make her dad forgive you. She was very clear about that." Claire laughed through the ache in her chest. "She's 8. Going on 80. Claire looked at the drawing for a long time. Then she folded it and placed it inside her folder of evidence. "Call legal," she said. "And notify the board. Emergency meeting at 9 tomorrow." At 9 the next morning, the Whitmore Allied boardroom filled with people who knew how to hide fear behind posture. Grant arrived early and placed himself near the head of the table. Margaret sat 2 seats away, pale but composed. When the doors opened, Claire entered with her legal counsel on one side and her assistant on the other. The room went silent. Grant stood. "Claire, I must object. Given your recent medical history and the emotional nature of this issue, I don't believe." Claire rolled to the head of the table. "My medical history is not on the agenda. Your readiness is relevant." Claire looked directly at him. Needing a wheelchair is not the same as lacking judgment. No one spoke. Claire placed a folder on the table. "The agenda is simple. Unauthorized benefit restructuring, concealed claim denial patterns, and whether this board intends to govern or merely protect itself." Grant's jaw tightened. "This is inflammatory. It is documented." The door opened again. Owen stepped in. He wore his navy suit, the same one from the gala. His face was tense, but he did not look away. Claire had not asked him to come. Maya had. Owen had almost refused. But then Lily had said, "Dad, grown-ups in suits should have to hear what their letters do." So he came. Grant looked pleased. "This is exactly what I mean," he said. A contractor with a personal grievance being brought into a corporate governance meeting. Owen stood at the end of the table. "I'm not here because of Claire," he said. "I'm here because my daughter is 8 years old and your policy language kept her in pain." The room shifted. Owen opened his folder, but he barely looked at it. "I'm not asking for charity. I work. I pay what I can. I fill out the forms. I send the documentation. Then someone sends back a letter saying a recommended chair component isn't medically necessary." His voice roughened, but he held steady. "To you, that's a line item. To Lily, it means pain after school. It means sleeping badly. It means pretending she's fine because she can see me doing math at the kitchen table, trying to figure out which bill can wait." A board member looked down. Owen continued. "You can hide cruelty inside policy language. But families still have to live inside the result." Claire kept her eyes on him. Not interrupting. Not using his pain. Just listening. Grant leaned back. "With respect, Mr. Mercer, individual hardship cannot dictate sustainable benefit strategy. Every organization has cost centers that become unsustainable." The words landed like ice. A woman on the board visibly recoiled. Claire opened her folder. "Cost centers," she said. "Interesting phrase." She slid a memo across the table. "Because that exact language appears in 3 internal documents from your team, along with instructions to reduce approval leakage and apply stricter review cycles to high-cost dependent mobility claims." Grant's face tightened. "These are standard administrative reviews." "No," Claire said. "They are deliberate denials disguised as caution. And they were implemented without my approval while this board allowed my recovery to become a convenient excuse." Grant looked around. Claire is emotionally compromised. Margaret stood. Everyone turned. For a moment, Claire looked as surprised as anyone. Margaret's voice was controlled, but it shook at the edges. Claire did not approve those cuts. Grant stared at her. Margaret continued. "I supported temporary decision-making limits during her recovery. I believed I was protecting her and the company. But those limits were used to move policy changes she would never have allowed." She looked at Claire. "I was wrong." Claire's eyes glistened. Margaret faced the board. "I move that Claire Whitmore's full executive authority be formally reaffirmed, that the benefit restructuring plan be suspended immediately, that affected claims be reopened for review, and that Grant Holloway be removed from operational control pending independent investigation." The room erupted. Grant argued. Counsel answered. Board members whispered, calculated, and finally understood which side history would remember. The vote passed. Not unanimously, but decisively. Grant sat at the far end of the table, isolated for the first time. Claire looked at Owen. He did not smile. And somehow, that hurt more than Grant ever could. Outside the boardroom, the hallway was quiet. Owen stood near the glass wall overlooking Chicago. Claire approached slowly. "Owen." He turned. For a few seconds, neither spoke. Then Claire said, "I'm sorry. Not because I was caught. Not because you were angry. Because harm happened under my name, and I did not know soon enough to stop it." Owen looked tired. "Thank you for fixing the policy. That doesn't sound like forgiveness." "It isn't." Claire nodded. "I understand. I don't think you do." His voice was not cruel. That made it harder. You get to walk into a room, call a vote, and change what happens next. I'm grateful. I am. But Lily and I have been living with the fear while people like Grant used words like cost centers. I know. And I trusted you before I knew who you were. Claire looked down. "I should have told you." "Yes," he said. "You should have." The silence between them was full of everything they had almost become. Claire forced herself not to reach for him. "I won't ask you for anything." Owen's expression softened for a second, then closed again. "Take care of yourself, Claire." He walked away. This time, she let him. Weeks passed. Winter softened around the edges, though snow still clung to Chicago curbs. Whitmore Allied reopened claims. An independent accessibility and benefits audit began. Grant Holloway's name disappeared from internal communications. And Lily received her new chair. The day it arrived, Owen stood in the rehab hallway with his hands shoved in his pockets, trying not to hover. Maya adjusted the final fitting. Lily rolled forward, then turned, then stopped. Her eyes widened. "It doesn't hurt." 3 words. Owen had to turn away. He covered his mouth with one hand, pretending to look at a poster on the wall. Lily saw anyway. "Dad, are you crying?" "No, your face is leaking." Maya laughed. Owen wiped his eyes and crouched in front of Lily. "How does it feel?" Lily grinned. "Like my dragon got wings." That evening, Lily asked if they could attend the smaller hospital fundraiser. Owen hesitated. Then she said, "Claire might be there." He looked at her. Lily shrugged too casually. "I'm just saying. People can mess up and still fix things." "You've become very invested in that sentence." "It's a good sentence." The fundraiser was nothing like the gala. No chandeliers. No champagne towers. Just warm lights, folding chairs dressed up with ribbons, nurses laughing near a dessert table, families talking in clusters, children moving freely through the room. Claire was there in a navy dress, speaking with a group of parents. Not hidden. Not ignored. Still, when the music began, she drifted slightly toward the edge of the room. Owen saw her. For a moment, he was back in the ballroom, watching strangers look away. Only this time, he knew her. Not the portrait. Not the title. Her. Claire turned and saw him approaching. Her expression softened, cautious but warm. "Owen." He stopped in front of her. "Hi. Hi." He looked toward the small dance floor. "Did you save me a dance?" Claire's eyes searched his. "That depends." "On what?" "Whether you're trying to rescue me again." Owen shook his head. "No. I came to stand beside you." The words settled between them. Claire blinked once, slowly. Then she offered her hand. They moved together beneath the simple hospital lights. No crystal chandeliers. No whispering executives. No performance. Just a man, a woman, and a dance that had learned how to begin again. Owen looked at her. "I used to think loving again meant leaving Samantha behind." Claire listened. "But maybe love doesn't work that way. Maybe it makes the family bigger. If you let it." Claire's voice was quiet. "I'd like to believe that. I'm trying to." Near the dessert table, Lily cheered. Finally. Owen laughed. Claire laughed too, and this time she did not look surprised by her own happiness. Across the room, Margaret watched with a complicated expression. Pride. Regret. Hope. Then a hotel courier entered and handed her a plain envelope. Margaret opened it. Inside were copies of financial transfers, donor names, and a note written in black ink. Grant Holloway was only the beginning. Follow the foundation money. Margaret's face went pale. On the dance floor, Claire did not see it yet. For one more moment, she was simply in the center of the room, seen fully, not as a symbol, not as a tragedy, not as a woman waiting to be rescued. As a woman loved. As a woman respected. As a woman ready to fight for the life she still had. And Owen, standing beside her, finally understood something Samantha had tried to tell him long ago. Love was not a museum. It was not a locked room. It was a door. And sometimes, if you were brave enough, it opened in the middle of a crowded room, when one forgotten person reached out a hand and another finally took it. If this story moved you, subscribe for more emotional romance dramas about second chances, hidden truths, and the quiet moments that change everything. And when Claire discovers what was inside that envelope, the next battle may not be in a ballroom or a boardroom, but inside the foundation that was supposed to protect the very children it betrayed.